I finally got around to watching Dredd. Okay, you guys, in preparation for the 2012 live stream discussion that I'm having on my channel tomorrow, well, as of the recording of this, it's tomorrow, Monday, last Monday in March, whatever that date is. This is not going to go up until after the live stream has happened, but in preparation for it, I finally made myself watch this doggone movie. There have been times that it's been playing. I've had it playing. I've pulled it up. I've played it. I remember that Lena Headey was in it. I remember she was in it. I remember Carl Urban was in it. I remembered that he was playing Judge Dredd, comic book character. That was all I knew about it. I knew some fighting was taking place in a building, but I did not know the premise. I didn't know the characters very well or anything like that. And I never really paid attention to what was happening in the story. So I'd been hearing for years that this movie was very good. And I will say right off the bat, yes, this is a really solid action flick. I appreciated the heck out of this movie. There's quite a few things that I want to say about it. I didn't take a lot of notes, but just I rewatched it again today with Arturo because he's never seen it either. So the story is I don't know if you're familiar with Dredd or Judge Dredd, but he's a comic book character. I don't remember who created him, but anyway, there was a movie called Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone many years before this. I heard that was awful. I don't think I've ever seen that either. Anyway, in Judge Dredd's world, it's in the future. It's kind of dystopian. I mean, there's like a lot of people living in one place. I can't remember how many millions of people he said was living in this mega city, maybe 80 million. I don't know, it was a lot. And because the population is so huge, and I guess land, maybe something happened to the land or whatever. So they're all crowded in this big city. And some areas are called mega blocks. I think that's what they call them. And it's these huge high rises, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people live in these huge high rises. And they have these policemen folks called judges that basically they're judge, jury, and executioner when they go out on the streets to fight crime. So they end up in this mega block and they're investigating something, and some events take place, and there's like this lockdown in this mega block, and they basically have to fight their way out and fighting against like the crime lord of the area played by Lena Headey. It kind of the scenario reminded me a bit of The Raid, the first Raid movie. I have not seen the second one, but basically it's kind of the same sort of setup. He's in this building or location and everybody's coming after him. So that was very, very similar to what was going on here. Everybody was coming after these judges. So they are navigating this very hostile environment and going after this drug dealer lady. So something that you'll notice when you watch this film is it's not super long. It's maybe about an hour and a half, or maybe a skosh more than an hour and a half. There's not a lot of fat on this movie. In fact, I would argue there's no fat on this film. It is very efficiently told, just like the movie Nobody. I remember being super impressed by the fact that they told a lot of story in a little bit of time, and it didn't seem like it was as short as it was because of stuff that was happening and how efficiently the story was told. You just go right on into it, and it just gets started off pretty quickly. Same thing with this. You get a little bit of introduction to Judge Dredd, the character. They bring in another character who is joining him. She's like a rookie, the little blonde girl, it shows her. And on her first day, she's like, I don't know, on probation or under observation or whatever. So this is like her first day on the job, sort of in training. And so she's tagging along, and she's sort of like, he's the experienced, roughened, hardened one, and she is the young, the rookie, the inexperienced, a little bit nervous. You can tell she feels like she feels in some way. I mean, the girl who played her, I don't remember if I've seen her before. I know I've seen her in some. I know I've seen some movies that she's been in, but she never made an impression on me until this movie. I appreciated this character that she played, she wasn't like that typical sort of strong woman that is portrayed in a lot of current films, on the strong independent woman type. She was tough, but she also was vulnerable, and she didn't think she knew everything. She didn't think she was the smartest or the bestest. She just went in there to do the best that she could do within her ability, and she could hold her own and be a good solid source of backup support, and yet not acting like she was superior to Dredd, who was above her and kind of like her mentor, sort of. So I really, really liked how they wrote that character, and she was one of my favorite characters in the movie, just because I really liked watching her mannerisms and her facial expressions and how she was processing everything that was going on around her and the situation she got into. And so kudos to them for that. She was cool. I don't know if she's based on a character in the Dredd stories or comics or whatever. I just know of Dredd. Anyway, Karl Urban, he did great as Dredd. He wears this helmet the whole doggone time. And there is one thing that was a little bit distracting to me about the way he played this character, and that was the constant, that look on his, this constant sort of, this frown, scowl. It was pretty much constant, and that became super distracting to me because that was all you could see of his face, and it was just permanent downturn of the mouth, like a snarly sort of downturn of, I don't know. You'll know it when you see it, but that did become something that I could not help but notice every single time it showed his face. But whatever, he was fine in here. He was a badass. He was tough. You didn't mess with him. He was not afraid to shoot if need be. And something else that I liked about the way this story went is they would be put in scenarios and you would think, oh, I know how this is going to go. But then it would go completely, well, for me, it would go in a direction that I was not necessarily anticipating, especially at the very end, the showdown that they have with this drug lord lady. And I thought that was so cool the way that played out. I had a big grin on my face when it showed it. Another thing I really like about this film, the cinematography. It was so impressive. The cinematography with regard to how the action scenes were shot, that was really cool. But something that was super impressive that I noticed right away was the slow-mo scenes that they would show. And it was because at first I didn't know what's going on. And then very quickly, they revealed to you that there's this drug on the street. She's the one who's spreading the drug around. There's this drug on the street. It's called slow-mo. It's called slow-mo because when you take the drug, your perception of time slows down tremendously. So if you take the drug and you're going through something that's horrific, that drags out for right here, she's on the drug. So it's showing her she's lifting her arm up from the water. And the way they showed that shot, you could see just in slow motion and the water trailing behind and the individual droplets. It was really cool how they did that. I loved that. And that happens at different places throughout the films. That was really impressive. Also, I liked that Lena Headey, she was not this glamorized drug lord person. She was grimy and she was nasty. She looked like a reflection of her surroundings. This place where a lot of people live in this poverty and it's just filthy and it's grimy and nasty. And she wasn't prancing around like someone with all this makeup on and her hair perfect. She looked gross. I mean, she has this scar on her face, which, something happened to her, whatever. She has the scar. That wasn't the part that made her look gross. It was she had this nasty hair and she looks grimy and filthy, like she hadn't had a bath in a while. I mean, she had a bath. It showed her taking a bath at the very beginning, but she looked like she didn't bathe herself very much. She was just a product of her environment, and that was very realistic. I like that too. So there's just a lot to appreciate about this movie. I really don't have any cons. I mean, I mentioned the thing about his constant scowl, but if you want to get nitpicky, maybe that's a con. But it's not a con to the point that I didn't like this, that it took away from me enjoying this movie. It was just something I couldn't help but notice. You know, maybe it's just me. Like I can get really particular about certain things like that, and then once I notice something, and then I start to fixate on, and then the more, see, like that was all the time, and and if that's all we're going to see of your face, Carl, can you make it look just a little, I don't know, what I almost said pleasant, but you know, he's this badass judge cop guy. That's not him looking pleasant isn't part of the role. So maybe it's just me. Anyway, if you like action films, if you like dystopian sort of environments, because that's, you know, it's futuristic, but believable futuristic stuff. Like the armor, I mean, the weaponry that they had was really cool. And yet you could see this being something that is developed in the future. So it wasn't so far into the future that it was fantastical and unbelievable, but at the same time, it also reflects a future that is bleak and very troubled and concerning and kind of, you know, like I said, dystopian. I can't say post-apocalyptic because not like that, but something has happened in the world that has created this environment that they're living in. I can't remember. I thought he said something about a wasteland. I don't know if there was like some type of war that decimated the land, and that's why these people are living all in this location. But whatever. If you like those types of environments, if you like action, if you like movies similar to The Raid, where you've got this small group of people and they're up against this force of many and how they navigate their way through that. And something that I also appreciated about this compared to a movie that I recently saw that I did a review for, it went up this past weekend, was John Wick. I went to go see that on opening preview night, and I ranted at length about all the things that really got under my skin about the film. And the main things were how unrealistic the action was and how over the top and ridiculous the setups and scenarios were, and him going up against dozens of people all at once, and how insane it was that nothing ever really seemed to happen to him. He was always just fine. He was a perfect shot. Everybody else was crappy. Well, in this particular movie, these characters, as a whole, they are going up against a lot of people, but not at one time. They're kind of fighting their way through this area where people are coming after them at different moments. And so to me, that was so much more realistic, and that was just done in so much of a better way than what we got with John Wick 4. And yeah, I appreciated this film quite a bit. And if you haven't seen it yet, check it out, because I think you'd probably like it. Yeah, I'm glad I finally got around to it. Too bad it took an upcoming live stream discussion to put a boot in my butt and get me to going on watching this film, but whatever, it's done. I've seen it. I liked it. And I liked it enough that I wanted to do a review about it specifically. I thought about just only talking about it during the live stream, how much I liked it. But when I rewatched it again today with Arturo, I was like, you know, I opened my notes back up and start adding more to the notes, because I really think that I want to do an actual full-on review for this. And so that's what I've done. If you've seen it already, let me know what you think. If you haven't seen it yet and you get around to watching it, let me know what you think. Curious to find out if you guys feel it's as solid as I did. It's got pretty good audience reviews, so this seems to be something that most people have enjoyed, and I'm one of them. Okay, can't think of anything else, so I'm wrapping this up. See you guys later. Adios.